Hi, I'm Sage. Welcome back to the Addictive Wellness channel. Today we're going to be talking about the thyroid. Now this is a gland that is so important. It's quite small, but its impact on your entire biology is so huge. And a lot of aspects of our modern diets and lifestyle and just the modern world make life very difficult for the human thyroid in a lot of ways. And so many people are suffering from thyroid disease these days, and it often goes undiagnosed, unfortunately. So people are dealing with all these symptoms and not really able to identify what's causing it because their thyroid levels may be within, the relevant normal range, but those ranges that are given by, laboratories and mainstream medicine are often much wider than the optimal range, which is much narrower. Now, let's go into a little bit more basic background information about the thyroid first. So it's located right here in the throat on either side of the trachea, and there's a little narrow band called the isthmus that connects those two. Now, random fun fact, some people are born without an isthmus, but that's quite rare. And if you have a healthy thyroid, you won't be able to feel it. You'll just feel, your natural neck muscles and things here. If you can feel your thyroid, that's a sign that you got a problem that needs to be addressed. So things start before you even get to the thyroid. You have your hypothalamus, which is making a compound called TRH. That goes to the pituitary. The pituitary then makes TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. And that gets sent to the thyroid. And as a result of that, your thyroid makes what's called T4 and also a little bit of T3, which is actually the active form of thyroid hormone. And then that T4, which is the inactive form, and the T3 and 3 and 4 refer to the number of iodine molecules that are attached. So T3 has 3 molecules of iodine, T4 has 4 molecules. So the T4 then goes elsewhere throughout the body and gets converted using a very specialized enzyme into T3, the active form. And this, interestingly, doesn't just go to one place in the body for that to happen. It happens primarily in the liver, but also in the gut, in the heart, in the nervous system. So your whole body is kind of working together to convert this T4 and remove one of these iodine molecules to turn it into the active form of T3. Now, what does thyroid hormone do? It's going to be increasing the metabolic rate, stimulating appetite and digestion, nutrient breakdown, nutrient absorption. It's going to be raising your oxygen absorption and increasing breathing rate and heart rate. And as a result of those things, your natural heat production is going to increase. Now, how much thyroid hormone do you produce? It's amazing. If you imagine a grain of sand in your hand, how tiny that is, the physical amount of thyroid hormone you're producing in a day is about 1/10 of a grain of sand. And if it's a little bit less or a little bit more, you're going to be experiencing all kinds of problems. And there's so many things that put stress on our thyroid these days. From just stress itself has a huge impact on the thyroid. The thyroid is kind of like the canary in the coal mine when it comes to the stressors we're experiencing. Toxicity, whether it's from things like fluoride and chloride and bromine that block the iodine receptors in the thyroid, or too many goitrogenic foods, things like soy and canola oil, and excess consumption of cruciferous vegetables that will be slowing down thyroid function. These things are all serious obstacles to optimal thyroid health. And so how can things go wrong? What happens when things go wrong? Well, your thyroid can either become underactive, and that's called hypothyroidism, or it can become overactive, and that's hyperthyroidism. Those are kind of pretty easy to remember. So what's going on when you have hypothyroidism? You're not producing enough thyroid hormone, basically, and it could be that you're producing it, but you're not converting it. There can be a number of problems along this production line where things go wrong. But if you're not having a healthily functioning thyroid, if it's underactive, you could be experiencing fatigue, weight gain. It's people who are chronically cold all the time and can't adapt very easily to cold temperatures. That's very often connected to hypothyroidism. You have a slower heart rate. It can be heavy menstrual bleeding can be experienced, constipation, and so there can be a number of things that cause this, as I mentioned. And it can also be related to an autoimmune issue like Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And this is also very tied to leaky gut. Leaky gut leads to inflammation throughout the body because you're getting these food particles passing through the gut lining without being properly digested. And so it's causing inflammation, and especially inflammation of the thyroid, which can then inhibit thyroid function. Now, on the other hand, some people, and this primarily happens because of what's called Graves' disease, it's another kind of an autoimmune condition, end up with hyperthyroid. And so this can manifest itself in the form of irritability, insomnia, excessive weight loss, compared to excessive weight gain with hypothyroid. You can't handle heat, so it's basically just everything the opposite of an underactive thyroid. Your heart can be racing, you have diarrhea, and as I mentioned, most commonly is going to be a result of Graves' disease, but there can be various other factors at play too. Now, I mentioned earlier that when most doctors are testing for thyroid, they'll often say your thyroid is just fine, even though you're experiencing all of these symptoms. It can't be from your thyroid, right? Because your thyroid tests look just fine. Well, there's a few common problems there. Now, to be clear, I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to provide medical advice. I'm just here giving you information so that you can ask the right questions and you can find the best doctor to give you the help that you need if you have thyroid issues. So most doctors will just test TSH and T4. That's it. They won't look at anything else. And not only that, but when these tests come back from the labs, they give you what your number is for, say, TSH or T4, and then they provide the doctor with the relevant range. And in concept, that range is supposed to be the ideal range in which you want that hormone level to be. But these ranges are often provided so wide because they're not looking at what's the right level of this hormone for true optimal health. They're just looking at what is it for effectively eking out like a meager existence and staying alive. If you're outside of that range, then you're in real trouble. But really, to be optimally healthy, as I know all you guys want to be, the range you want to be in is much narrower, and many doctors aren't aware of this. So you really want to look for a doctor who specializes in hormone health, specializes in thyroid health, and understands a narrower range. In fact, that's kind of a good litmus test for seeing if your doctor really is well educated and suited to help you with thyroid issues. If they are just talking about the relevant ranges that comes back on the test paper from the lab, they probably don't have the right kind of information that you need. Whereas if they are able to explain to you the narrower range that your hormone level should be in, that's a good sign. You're off to a good start. So not only is it a problem with finding the right relevant range, but also there's a lot more that they should really be testing. So TSH and T4, that's great, but then you also want to test total T4, free T4 that's not been bound up, total T3, free T3, reverse T3, what's called anti-TPO and anti-thyroid globulin. Those last two, those are antibodies that, if they are detected, would be then indicative of a good chance of having some form of an autoimmune disease, as we mentioned before, like Hashimoto's thyroiditis or Graves' disease or some other forms. And autoimmunity is so closely tied to gut health, as we mentioned before. So it's very important as a part of a well-rounded thyroid program to work very directly on gut health. Cleaning up your diet, eating more of an anti-inflammatory diet, having things like Restore for Life, which is a terahydrite supplement that helps to close up the tight junctions in your gut, taking really high-quality probiotics. You want to look for probiotics that have tested for survivability, so that they're actually surviving the digestive environment and able to set up shop in your gut. So, because a lot of them, they're very sensitive and they can just be destroyed by the digestive acids and bile and things like that. So you want to look for probiotics with a high level of survivability, and good probiotics alone, in fact, can significantly improve levels of T3. It's really amazing. Now, what else are we going to do here to support our thyroid health? Well, of course, we mentioned stress is a huge issue. And I know when you're stressed, nothing is worse than hearing somebody tell you you're too stressed, you need to calm down. That's not helpful, right? Anybody who's ever been stressed has known that you need more than somebody telling you to calm down. So looking at this from a nutrition and supplement and herb and lifestyle perspective, in terms of supplements, you can look at things like magnesium. I personally love the two different forms of magnesium. Magnesium glycinate, which is a very easily absorbed form and doesn't cause bowel disturbances, as you can get with some other cheaper forms of magnesium. And then also magnesium L-threonate. This is one that has a special ability to cross the blood-brain barrier and actually increase brain levels of magnesium. So it's great for calming you and calming the nervous system, calming down the brain. Really wonderful. Then you can also look at, for example, L-theanine, which you can get in like matcha or green tea, or you can get it as an individual, extracted compound. It's very calming, very relaxing. And then we're going over into the herb world. You can look at things like reishi mushroom, holy basil, ashwagandha, hoshiwu. And in fact, these herbs are often ones not that just only work on stress, but actually are more directly even helping the thyroid, especially in the case of hoshiwu, ashwagandha, and holy basil. They are fantastic adaptogens and thyroid supportive herbs. And then stress-wise, also, you can look outside diet and nutrition and herbs. Look at, taking on a meditation practice, exercising more regularly, learning to do some basic breathing practices that may help you with your stress response. And there's so many great meditation apps coming out these days. Don't, just because the first way you try to learn to meditate doesn't work out maybe, or it's too difficult for you, don't give up. Keep trying these other methods. You'll find one. There's enough different, entry points to meditation and stress relief practices that you'll find something that works for you. Also, detoxifying is very important. From the basics of like having coconut oil and taking iodine. You don't want to take too much iodine because that can cause problems as well. But something for most people in the range of a total daily consumption of like 300 micrograms of iodine is a good range. Folic acid, which you can get as a supplement on its own, or you can supplement with shilajit. That's this Himalayan mineral pitch. It's one of the great adaptogenic, super powerful substances in Ayurveda. So I'm a huge fan of shilajit as a supplement. And then detoxification through heavy metal detox. Maybe you work with a very qualified practitioner who puts together a chelation protocol that helps you detoxify heavy metals. Maybe you're doing infrared saunas in a low EMF infrared sauna ideally, so you're not being bombarded with EMF at the same time as you're trying to heal, right? You don't want to do stuff that's counterproductive while you're trying to heal yourself after all. And then nutritionally, you want to have well-rounded nutrition, of course. Vitamin A, vitamin B, especially vitamin B12, methylcobalamin is very important. Vitamin C is helpful, so you could be getting this from a whole food form, something like acerola cherry, amla berry, or high-quality camu camu, or I should say, you could be getting it from like a lipospheric vitamin C, a liposomal vitamin C that's going to be super bioavailable, like basically on the level of being like a vitamin C IV to really raise your circulating levels of vitamin C. Then vitamin D3 is huge. I mean, not just for the thyroid, but its overall epigenetic impact. And you always want to make sure you're taking vitamin D3 with vitamin K2 so that it's properly used by the body and doesn't have any negative side effects. Selenium is also important, and zinc, two very key minerals for overall health and for thyroid health. And then you can also look at the category of sea vegetables. These are forms of plants that grow in the ocean, and two of them, there's kelp, there's dulse, and then two of the other lesser known, very helpful ones are gugulipid and bladderwrack. Those are two superpowers when it comes to sea vegetables for supporting the thyroid. So there's a ton of tools there that you can use to support your thyroid health. Now, a lot of those herbs I mentioned, to be clear, those are going to be more specific for hypothyroidism. There's a different approach you have to take for hyper. It's a bit rarer, so we'll save going deep into that for another time. But a lot of times you're going to have to treat that as an autoimmune condition if you've had those antibody tests and you've seen that these antibodies are present. Perhaps you're dealing with Graves' disease or something like that. And so you're going to address that from an autoimmune perspective, and you can look at taking, working on gut health and taking systemic enzymes that are going to be really helpful there as well. So that's a brief taste of that, but we can go more into hyperthyroidism another time. And it's interesting, women are so much more affected by thyroid problems. Women are 5 to 8 more times more likely to experience a thyroid disease. So this happens for a number of reasons. It's partially due to the hormonal fluctuations that women experience and the propensity to become estrogen dominant. If your progesterone gets too low and estrogen gets too high, that has an effect on the immune system, an inflammatory effect on the immune system that is going to be stressful then for the thyroid. And then also going through pregnancy. During and after pregnancy, the thyroid becomes very vulnerable to becoming overactive or underactive and developing thyroid disease. So women have a tougher time here. So this is especially for women. You really want to be aware of the right testing to have done and be able to monitor your thyroid and know all these great nutrition and diet and lifestyle things to implement to make sure your thyroid is functioning optimally. And last but not least, just the things to avoid. We mentioned before things like chloride and bromine. Bromide actually is something that's used in processing and rolling of conventional bread, so that's something you want to stay away from. It's what's called a halogen. It's going to be blocking up those iodine receptors in your thyroid, so even if you're getting enough dietary iodine, it's going to have nowhere to go because it's like a game of musical chairs, and that seat is being blocked up by one of these other kinds of compounds, like a fluoride or a bromide, something like that. Excessive consumption of cruciferous vegetables is another one, especially in a raw state. For example, if you take something like kale or broccoli and you steam it, then you're going to decrease the goitrogens, these thyroid inhibiting compounds, by about 2/3. So that helps a lot. And so you just don't want to be going overboard on any of these cruciferous vegetables. And peanuts are another problem. Canola oil, soy, these are all going to be having thyroid inhibiting functions. Refined flours, trans fats. I think by now, if you guys are watching this channel, you're probably not touching any of those things, but I just mention them in case you have a family member who's not necessarily quite on the health kick as you are, and they're dealing with some thyroid issues, and you want to share some good info with them to be able to help them out. So thank you so much for joining us, guys. I hope you got some good thyroid insights here. If you're going through some thyroid challenges, or you've been on the thyroid healing path for a while and have been experiencing some great results, leave us a comment below. We'd love to hear what's been going on with you. And thanks again for taking the time to join us here. Look forward to seeing you again soon, and hope you have a wonderful day.